Excuses are the silent killers of potential. Every time you justify why something isn't possible, why you can't change, or why now isn't the right time, you reinforce a pattern that keeps you stuck. These aren't just words, they're the beliefs you start to live by. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you reclaim power over your life. It isn't about waiting for the perfect conditions, the right support, or an ideal mindset. It's about deciding that no excuse is valid enough to hold you back any longer. Taking control isn't something you negotiate with yourself. It's a decision you make, a line you draw in the sand. You can't control everything, but you can control what you do with what you have. Each day presents a new opportunity to step away from the habits that weaken you and toward the actions that strengthen you. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up for yourself every single day and refusing to let your circumstances dictate your future. The energy you put into making excuses can be redirected into making progress. When you catch yourself saying, "I don't have time," "I'm too tired," or "I don't know how," recognize that these aren't just statements, they're choices. And every choice you make shapes the story of your life. If you choose to focus on what's missing instead of what's possible, you're building a narrative of limitation. But if you shift that focus to what you can control, you start to write a story of empowerment. Every excuse is a moment when you decide not to take responsibility, not just for what's going wrong, but for what's possible. Taking control means holding yourself accountable for the way you respond to challenges. It means understanding that while you may not be able to change the past, you have complete power over your next step. If you've been using excuses as a way to escape discomfort, you need to realize that the only way to grow is to lean into that discomfort instead of avoiding it. When you blame external factors, time, energy, circumstances, you give away your power. You make it seem like something outside of you is in control, but that's not true. You are in control. You decide how you respond, how you act, and what you pursue. The moment you take full responsibility for your life, you take back the power to change it. Excuses are easy. They require no effort, no courage, and no commitment. But taking control, that takes everything. It takes a decision to stop waiting for things to be different and to make yourself different instead. Every time you feel the urge to make an excuse, ask yourself, is this the story I want to live by? If you say, "I can't," you're writing a story of limitation. If you say, "I'll try," you're giving yourself an exit strategy. But if you say, "I will find a way," you're committing to a story of power and possibility. This isn't about being rigid or harsh with yourself. It's about being honest. It's about recognizing that every excuse you make is a choice to stay where you are instead of moving forward. The truth is, excuses don't just hold you back. They create a pattern of inaction, of self-doubt, of missed opportunities. And every time you repeat that pattern, it gets stronger. It becomes a habit. But habits can be broken. Patterns can be reprogrammed. And it starts with a simple decision. No more excuses. No more justifications. No more waiting. Just action, no matter how small, but consistent, day after day. The power of taking control lies in its simplicity. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need to commit to doing something, anything that moves you in the right direction. Excuses are complex. They're elaborate stories that justify inaction. But taking control, that's straightforward. It's a choice you make in a single moment, and it sets everything else in motion. When you decide that nothing will stand between you and your goals, you shift from being a victim of your circumstances to being the architect of your future. Control is not about micromanaging every detail of life. It's about managing the things that truly matter: your effort, your mindset, your discipline. Excuses distract you from what's important. They pull you into a cycle of wishful thinking and self-sabotage. But when you cut the excuses, you eliminate the noise. You create clarity. You see exactly what needs to be done, and you get to work. And that's the difference between those who drift through life and those who take charge. One group makes excuses, the other group makes progress. There's a certain power in owning your actions, in recognizing that everything you do or don't do contributes to your life story. When you stop deflecting responsibility, you stop feeling like life is happening to you. And you realize that you're the one who makes things happen. You're the one who decides where to go, how hard to push, and what to prioritize. And once you fully accept that, the excuses start to fade away. Because there's no need for excuses when you know that every result is a direct reflection of the choices you make. Taking control of your life begins with awareness. You have to recognize the moments when you're about to make an excuse. You have to catch yourself in the act, because excuses are sneaky. They disguise themselves as logical reasons, as valid justifications. But if you pay attention, you'll see that they're just comfort-seeking mechanisms, ways to avoid the discomfort of taking real action. And the truth is, growth only happens in discomfort. Progress only happens when you push through the resistance, when you decide that staying the same is no longer acceptable. Every moment spent making excuses is a moment stolen from your future. Every time you justify an action, you reinforce a belief that you're not capable, that you're not ready, that you're not enough. But when you choose to cut the excuses, you send a different message to yourself. You tell yourself that you are capable. You tell yourself that you are ready to act. You tell yourself that you are more than enough to create the life you want. And that internal shift, once it takes root, changes everything. Excuses are a habit, and like any habit, they can be broken. The first step is awareness. The second is commitment. You have to decide that every excuse is no longer acceptable, that every moment of hesitation, every justification is a betrayal of your potential. And then you have to replace that habit with something powerful, decisive action, no matter how small, because action disrupts the cycle. Action creates momentum. And once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep going. Taking control means reprogramming your mind to see obstacles as opportunities instead of reasons to hold back. It means shifting from a mindset of limitation to a mindset of possibility. The world will always present challenges. There will always be reasons to stop, to slow down, to give up. But the person who takes control doesn't focus on those reasons. They focus on solutions. They refuse to be trapped by circumstances. They refuse to let anything outside of themselves dictate their future. When you stop making excuses, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, what if this doesn't work? And start telling yourself, I'll make it work. You stop saying, I wish things were different, and start realizing, I'll make things different. That shift in internal dialogue is what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. It's not about talent. It's not about background. It's about who is willing to take control and own every decision, every action, and every outcome. Cutting excuses isn't just about stopping negative self-talk. It's about building a new way of thinking, a way that sees every setback as a lesson, every delay as an opportunity to prepare, and every challenge as a reason to grow stronger. It's about understanding that excuses are not just words, they're patterns that keep you trapped. And breaking that pattern requires relentless commitment to a new way of living, a new way of thinking, and a new way of acting. The power of this shift is that it puts you in the driver's seat. No more waiting, no more hesitating, no more looking for reasons why something won't work. Just pure, decisive action, fueled by the knowledge that you're capable of handling whatever comes next. Once you take control, you realize that the only thing standing between you and success is the narrative you've been telling yourself. And the moment you change that narrative, everything else changes with it. In this new story, excuses don't exist. There's no room for justifications. There's no space for hesitation. Just clarity, commitment, and the relentless pursuit of progress. Every day is a new opportunity to reinforce that story, to prove to yourself that you are not defined by your past, your circumstances, or your excuses. You are defined by your actions. And once you take control of those actions, you take control of your future. This isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest. It's about recognizing that every excuse is a choice you don't have to make. That every moment you decide to act instead of justify, you strengthen your resolve and deepen your commitment to the life you're building. Taking control means understanding that the power to change everything is already within you. It's not about becoming something new. It's about shedding everything that was holding you back and stepping into the person you were always meant to be. Every moment I waste making excuses is a moment I could have used to take control. I've seen that the difference between success and stagnation often boils down to how I choose to spend my time and energy. Excuses are easy, but they keep me trapped. They keep me from pushing forward, from becoming the person I know I can be. When I stop justifying my inaction and start taking responsibility, everything shifts. My mindset transforms. My focus sharpens. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable begin to shrink in the light of decisive action. Taking control means recognizing that no one is coming to fix my problems. No one is going to hand me success or motivation. It's on me to create the momentum, to set the tone for my own life. When I look in the mirror, I see the one person who has the power to change everything. When I take full ownership of my choices, I stop waiting for the right time and realize that the right time is now. Every excuse I've made in the past has been a barrier between me and my potential. Breaking down that barrier starts with a simple decision. I will no longer let excuses dictate my actions. It's easy to blame circumstances, to point fingers, to convince myself that things would be different if only I had more time, more resources, or a better start. But the truth is, everything I need to succeed is within my reach, as long as I'm willing to put in the work. I've learned that the moment I stop searching for reasons not to act is the moment I free myself to take advantage of every opportunity. My future isn't determined by the hand I was dealt, but by how I play the cards. And when I decide to play them with intention, I create a winning strategy. Taking control is about more than just eliminating excuses. It's about building a mindset that thrives on responsibility. Every time I hold myself accountable for my actions, I reinforce my ability to change. I stop seeing setbacks as failures and start viewing them as stepping stones. Each mistake becomes a lesson, each delay a chance to recalibrate. The more I practice this, the stronger I become in my resolve. I stop giving power to things outside my control and channel all my energy into what I can influence. This shift is where real progress begins. When I let go of excuses, I discover a reservoir of determination I didn't know I had. There's a liberating power in admitting that the only thing standing between me and my goals is my willingness to act. No more waiting for motivation. No more hesitating out of fear. No more letting doubt dictate my path. The moment I stop making excuses, I reclaim my focus. I become relentless in pursuing what I want. I stop negotiating with myself about whether or not I should take action because I've already made the decision. My success is non-negotiable. This clarity changes everything. I start to see that every small decision counts. Every minute spent in self-reflection, every second dedicated to honing my skills, every drop of effort I invest becomes a building block for my future. And when I commit to this level of responsibility, I notice a shift in my results. The things I once thought were impossible start to become within reach. The tasks I used to avoid become opportunities to prove to myself that I'm capable of more. Each day is a new chance to reinforce the idea that I am in control. In taking ownership, I also redefine my relationship with time. I no longer see it as a limited resource that slips away unnoticed. I treat every minute like a valuable investment in my future. Procrastination becomes unacceptable because I understand that every delay is a choice, one that I refuse to make. Instead, I choose to act. I choose to use my time wisely. I choose to build momentum instead of letting it pass me by. This conscious decision transforms how I approach every challenge. It instills in me a sense of urgency that fuels my every action. Control comes from consistency. It's not enough to make one good decision and hope for change. I have to commit day in and day out to showing up and doing the work. Without this consistency, I slip back into old habits, and the cycle of excuses starts all over again. But when I make a daily commitment to excellence, when I refuse to settle for less than my best, I create an unstoppable force. Each decision builds on the last, creating a compounding effect that turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results. The moment I realize that excuses are the only thing holding me back, I step into a new level of self-awareness. I start to see that every time I blame external factors, I'm giving away my power. I refuse to do that any longer. Instead, I take full responsibility for where I am today and where I'm going tomorrow. This mindset shift is the foundation of a life without limits. It liberates me from the past and empowers me to shape the future on my own terms. When I commit to cutting out excuses, I also commit to a new level of honesty with myself. No more sugarcoating my failures. No more pretending that circumstances are to blame. I confront the truth head on. If I'm not where I want to be, it's because I haven't done what's necessary to get there. This realization is uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly freeing. Because once I own my reality, I also own the power to change it. And that power is far greater than any excuse I could ever make. Every time I take a step forward without the crutch of excuses, I build confidence. I prove to myself that I don't need to hide behind justifications. I don't need to make excuses to feel better about my choices. I can stand tall, knowing that I'm taking full responsibility for my life. This confidence spills over into every area: my work, my relationships, my personal development. And as I become more self-assured, I find that I'm capable of achieving more than I ever thought possible. There's a quiet strength that comes from cutting out excuses. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic changes overnight. It's about the small, consistent decisions I make every day. It's about refusing to let my past dictate my future. It's about making a commitment to myself that I will no longer let excuses run my life. When I embrace this, I step into my power. I take control of my destiny, and I set in motion a process that transforms not just my results, but who I am at my core. Taking control of your life starts with eliminating excuses. Every day, countless opportunities slip away because of justifications we create to avoid taking action. These excuses are not always loud or dramatic. They're quiet, subtle, and repetitive. They convince you that conditions aren't right, that you need more time, or that you aren't ready. The truth is, excuses are the enemy of progress. They disguise themselves as logical reasons, but in reality, they only delay your success. When you let excuses dictate your actions, you surrender control. You hand over your future to circumstances instead of claiming ownership of it. Most people believe they are waiting for the perfect moment to change, but there is no perfect moment. There is only now. The habit of making excuses is deeply ingrained. It feels safer to justify an action than to confront the discomfort of making a bold choice. But safety does not lead to growth. Growth comes from stepping into uncertainty, from deciding that your potential is more important than your temporary comfort. The moment you cut the excuses, you open the door to real change. You stop negotiating with yourself and start demanding more from yourself. You stop waiting for motivation and create it through action. Taking control means taking full responsibility for where you are and where you are going. It means no longer blaming circumstances, other people, or even your past. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. The stories you tell yourself about why you can't change, those are the real barriers. When you break those stories, you break free. And the only way to break them is to take action, no matter how small. Because action is what shifts you from excuses to results. Action is what converts intentions into achievements. Action is what proves to you that you are in control. Excuses thrive on delay. They whisper that you will start tomorrow, next week, or when things settle down. But things never settle down. Life is unpredictable. And if you keep waiting for ideal conditions, you will be waiting forever. The key is to act now, even if the action is imperfect. An imperfect action today is far more powerful than a perfect plan that never gets executed. The moment you break the cycle of hesitation, you reclaim your power. You realize that control does not come from waiting, it comes from doing. Every excuse you let slip by is a choice. It is a choice to stay in your comfort zone, a choice to maintain the status quo, a choice to let fear or doubt dictate your life. But when you decide to cut the excuses, you make a different choice. You choose growth over comfort. You choose accountability over denial. You choose to be the one who takes charge instead of the one who makes justifications. In that decision lies the power to change everything. Because when you stop making excuses, you stop giving away control. And when you stop giving away control, you start building the future you want. Every moment wasted on hesitation is a moment stolen from the future you could be building right now. Excuses are the silent thief of progress. They creep in when you least expect it, disguised as justifications, as reasons why today isn't the right day, why conditions aren't perfect, why you aren't ready yet. It's time to expose them for what they are. Barriers you've constructed that only serve to keep you in the same place. The truth is, progress doesn't wait for the perfect time. It demands that you show up, even when you're not fully prepared, even when the path isn't perfectly clear. Taking control of your life begins the moment you decide to stop negotiating with your own limitations. Every excuse you make is a negotiation with yourself that undermines your purpose. You tell yourself that you need more time, more resources, more confidence. But what you're really saying is that you need a reason to delay the action that will change everything. The reality is, there's never going to be a perfect moment. The only time you have is now. And if you keep waiting for conditions to align, you'll find yourself waiting indefinitely, trapped in a cycle of inaction. Excuses are not external forces. They are internal decisions. You choose them, whether consciously or unconsciously. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you're making a decision to put off your potential. Every time you justify inaction with, "I'm too busy," you're deciding that something less important than your future deserves your attention more than your growth does. This isn't about external limitations. It's about the internal dialogue that shapes your reality. When you cut the excuses, you reclaim the power to shape your destiny. Every excuse you remove creates space for action. Every reason you stop using to justify inaction becomes a seed for progress. This is not about harsh self-criticism. It's about radical honesty with yourself. It's about recognizing that the barriers to success are often self-imposed. The moment you decide to take responsibility for every aspect of your life and your time, your energy, your choices, you free yourself from the cycle of waiting and wishing. Taking control means refusing to let circumstances dictate your path. It means understanding that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Your response to challenges defines your future. If you respond with excuses, you reinforce the very limitations you want to escape. If you respond with action, you break free from the past and lay the groundwork for something new. Every time you choose action over excuse, you send a message to yourself that you are in charge. And that message builds momentum. Momentum is the key to transformation. Once you break the habit of excuse making, you start to build energy in the direction of your goals. Action creates clarity. The more you move, the more you understand what works and what doesn't. Inaction breeds doubt, but action breeds confidence. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most important. It's the moment you decide that you are no longer willing to let excuses dictate your life. Control is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up day after day, even when motivation is low, even when progress feels slow. It's about making a commitment to yourself that you will no longer allow excuses to be the reason you stay stuck. This commitment transforms every hesitation into an opportunity, every delay into a decision to move forward. When you remove excuses from your vocabulary, you replace them with power. You stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "How can I?" You stop telling yourself, "It's too late," and start realizing, "It's not too late if I take action now." This shift in mindset is the foundation of taking control. It's the moment you decide that your future is not determined by circumstances, but by the choices you make today. Every choice you make is a statement about what you value. When you choose action over excuses, you declare that your future is worth the effort. When you choose responsibility over blame, you affirm that you are the one in charge. And when you choose consistency over hesitation, you set in motion a cycle of growth that becomes unstoppable. This is the process of cutting the excuses and taking control. It's not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. And every day you practice it, you get closer to the life you want. Taking control of your life starts with cutting the excuses. Excuses are the invisible barriers that hold you back from progress. They are the justifications you tell yourself for why you can't do something or why things aren't working out. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you reclaim your power. If you want to see real change, you have to stop waiting for the right conditions, the right timing, or the right motivation. Excuses are optional, and once you realize that, you shift the entire dynamic of your life. Most people don't see themselves as making excuses. They see their reasons as valid, as logical explanations for why they haven't taken action. But the truth is, excuses are not reasons. They are choices. Every time you say, I don't have time, you're choosing to believe that your schedule is too full for what matters most. Every time you say, I'm not ready yet, you're choosing to believe that perfection is required before you take action. And every time you say, I can't, you're choosing to give away your power instead of claiming it. The language you use shapes your reality. If you keep using weak, limiting words, you'll create a life that matches those words. Cutting the excuses means taking full ownership of your circumstances, no matter how difficult or unfair they seem. It means recognizing that while you may not control everything around you, you do control how you respond. You control how you think. You control what you do next. And that control is always available, no matter how many reasons you think you have for not moving forward. The moment you shift from blaming external factors to owning your choices, you step into a different level of accountability. You stop waiting for someone or something to change, and you decide that you will change instead. People often underestimate the power of small shifts in thinking. They believe that making big changes requires a dramatic overhaul of their life. But that's not true. It only takes a shift in mindset to rewire your actions. When you stop justifying inaction, when you stop negotiating with yourself about why something is too hard or too risky, you start to build momentum. And momentum is what turns small actions into massive results. It's not about waiting for motivation. It's about taking action regardless of whether you feel like it or not. Because the truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. Your mind is wired to seek out comfort. It will always look for the easiest path, the least resistance, the safest option. But here's the catch. Nothing extraordinary is built on the easy path. Growth happens in discomfort. Progress happens when you push past the urge to retreat into excuses, into safety, into the familiar. The discomfort you feel when taking action is a sign that you're moving in the right direction. It's a signal that you're stepping outside of your old patterns and creating something new. Embracing that discomfort is what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. There's a common belief that some people are just naturally disciplined, that they don't struggle with motivation or procrastination. That's a myth. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build through consistent action. And every time you allow an excuse to take over, you're reinforcing a pattern of weakness. But every time you push past the excuse and act anyway, you're strengthening your discipline. You're training your mind to say, I don't wait for motivation. I create it through my actions. And that's how you build a foundation for lasting success. One of the biggest traps is waiting for the perfect time. People delay taking action because they're convinced that someday everything will align perfectly. But perfect timing doesn't exist. Life is always unpredictable. If you keep waiting, you will always be waiting. The secret is to take action now, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of not having all the answers. Because when you take action now, you create your own momentum. And that momentum will carry you forward even when conditions aren't ideal. Taking control of your life means eliminating the middle ground. There's no such thing as a half-hearted commitment. You're either all in or you're making excuses. You can't say you want something desperately while simultaneously allowing excuses to dictate your actions. If you want to change, you have to decide that excuses are no longer an option. You have to make the decision that your future is more important than your past. You have to choose growth over comfort, progress over perfection, and action over inaction. That's what taking control looks like. That's what real ownership feels like. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need external validation to move forward. All you need is the decision to cut the excuses and take control. And that decision, it changes everything. It transforms how you see yourself. It changes how you show up every single day. It shifts your identity from someone who makes excuses to someone who takes action, regardless of the circumstances. And when your identity shifts, your results follow. The excuses that once held you back become irrelevant because now you're in control. And that's the difference between staying stuck and breaking free. Taking control doesn't mean you won't have setbacks. It doesn't mean everything will go perfectly. What it means is that setbacks no longer define you. Challenges no longer stop you. Discomfort no longer makes you retreat. Because you've made a decision that excuses are no longer an option. A decision that you will take action regardless of how you feel. A decision that your future is too important to be left in the hands of excuses. That's not just a shift in behavior. That's a shift in who you are. And once you make that shift, nothing can stop you. The moment you stop blaming external circumstances for your situation, you start moving forward. Excuses are the invisible chains that hold people back. They seem harmless at first, just a way to rationalize why things aren't working out. But in reality, they're powerful forces that keep you stuck, comfortable, and far from the life you want. Taking ownership means letting go of those excuses and accepting that everything, success, failure, progress, starts with you. It's not about what happened to you in the past, what resources you lack, or what obstacles stand in your way. It's about what you choose to do now. Every time you catch yourself blaming someone or something, pause and reflect. That moment of self-awareness is where change begins. Excuses are easy. They protect us from discomfort, from the hard work of looking in the mirror and admitting that the only person responsible for our results is ourselves. This is not about self-criticism. It's about empowerment. When you take full responsibility, you reclaim control. You move from a passive role to an active one. You stop waiting for things to improve and start making them improve. The lie people tell themselves is that they need more time, more knowledge, more luck before they can start. That's an excuse, not a strategy. The truth is, you have everything you need to begin right now. The only thing standing between you and progress is the story you keep telling yourself. If you believe you're not ready, you'll never be ready. If you believe you don't have what it takes, you'll never take action. But if you change that narrative, if you decide that you are capable, that you are ready to figure things out as you go, then the world opens up. Taking control means eliminating the mental shortcuts that make it easy to avoid responsibility. It's easy to say, I don't have time. It's harder to admit, I'm not making this a priority. It's easy to say, I can't change because of my circumstances. It's harder to face the fact that change is possible, but only if you commit to making it happen. Every excuse is a protection mechanism, a way to shield ourselves from the discomfort of growth. But discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is the signal that you're stepping outside your old limits. People often wish for easier conditions, a smoother path, fewer obstacles, more support. But that's not how growth works. Growth happens in the struggle. It happens when you decide to push through the resistance, to work on yourself, even when the world is against you. The challenges you face are not roadblocks. They are the training ground for your future success. The moment you stop seeing hardship as an excuse and start seeing it as an opportunity, you shift from a victim mindset to one of power. Every time you accept an excuse, you give away a piece of your control. You hand over authority to something outside yourself. And each time you take responsibility, you claim more of that control back. It's a daily practice. In every decision, in every setback, in every moment when it would be easier to make an excuse, ask yourself, what can I own in this situation? This question shifts your perspective. It turns obstacles into lessons and setbacks into stepping stones. Because the reality is no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the perfect set of circumstances. If you want change, you have to create it. And here's the truth. The longer you hold on to excuses, the harder it becomes to let them go. They become habits, ingrained patterns of thinking that justify inaction. The mind loves familiarity, even if it's limiting. Breaking free requires conscious effort. It requires rewriting the internal dialogue. Instead of saying, I can't, ask, how can I? Instead of saying, this is too hard, ask, what's my next move? By shifting the language you use, you shift the reality you live in. People who make excuses often do so because they're afraid of failure, afraid of success, afraid of the unknown. But fear is not a valid reason to hold back. Fear is a natural response to stepping outside your comfort zone. It's a sign that you're on the verge of growth. The more you allow fear to dictate your actions, the more control you lose over your life. Instead of letting fear run the show, use it as fuel. Let it remind you that you're pushing boundaries, that you're moving in the direction of something greater. Every moment you choose responsibility over excuses, you build momentum. Every decision you make that rejects the easy way out reinforces your self-discipline. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up every day with the mindset that you are in control. When you take ownership, you stop waiting for things to change. You become the force of change. And that's where real power lies. Excuses are the silent anchors that weigh down potential. They creep in when you hesitate, justifying inaction with reasons that seem valid, but are really just barriers to progress. Every time you let an excuse slip into your decision-making process, you're choosing comfort over growth, hesitation over momentum. The habit of making excuses is learned, reinforced over years of avoiding discomfort, and it becomes so ingrained that it feels automatic. Taking control of your life starts with recognizing that every excuse is a choice you make, a choice to stay in the same place instead of moving forward. It's easier to blame circumstances than to confront the discomfort of taking full responsibility. But the moment you see excuses for what they truly are, self-imposed limitations, is the moment you unlock the power to change. Every reason you give for why things can't happen is a signal that you're allowing external factors to dictate your path instead of owning it. Shifting this mindset requires a deliberate effort to reprogram your thinking. Instead of defaulting to the comfort of excuses, challenge yourself to find the solution. When faced with obstacles, ask yourself, what can I do next instead of, why can't I do this? This simple shift transforms each roadblock into an opportunity for action. It's a decision to refuse the easy way out. It's about demanding more from yourself and holding yourself accountable every step of the way. Key to this transformation is understanding that control comes from clarity and commitment. When you set clear, non-negotiable goals, and when you commit to pursuing them without exception, excuses begin to lose their power. You can't eliminate every obstacle, but you can eliminate the habit of making excuses. Each time you take ownership of your actions, each time you choose to push through instead of retreat, you reinforce a new pattern, one where excuses no longer dictate your behavior. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It doesn't mean that life will always be straightforward. But it does mean that regardless of the hurdles, you refuse to let excuses become your default response. Every moment of hesitation, every urge to justify an action becomes a test of your commitment to take control. And with every test you pass, you strengthen the discipline necessary to maintain momentum. Embracing this mindset requires discipline. It's not enough to recognize the habit. You must actively interrupt it. When an excuse tries to take root in your mind, counter it with a deliberate, action-oriented thought. Replace, I don't have time, with, I'll make time by prioritizing what matters. Replace, I can't because I'm not ready, with, I'll get ready by taking the first step now. This constant reprogramming shifts your internal dialogue from one of limitation to one of possibility. Taking control means setting standards for yourself that are higher than the default of excuses. It means deciding that you will not settle for reasons that keep you stuck. Every time you make a decision, you either reinforce the habit of excuses or you break free from it. Each small choice you make to act instead of excuse solidifies your ability to take back the power that excuses try to steal. Over time, this leads to a life that's defined by action rather than inaction, by progress rather than stalling. Momentum builds when you stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you debate whether to follow through on a commitment or let an excuse take over, you weaken your resolve. The key is to eliminate the negotiation. When you decide, make the decision absolute. No middle ground. No room for excuses. This clarity eliminates confusion and creates a pathway to action. And with each decision made in favor of progress, you reinforce the belief that you are in control. In practical terms, this means setting boundaries around your time and energy. If something matters to you, protect it fiercely. If a task is essential for your growth, treat it as non-negotiable. This level of commitment sends a powerful message to yourself. Excuses have no place in a life that's determined to move forward. When every action is deliberate, every choice intentional, excuses become irrelevant. The habit of making excuses is not a fixed trait. It's a pattern that can be broken. It's a behavior that can be replaced by a relentless pursuit of ownership and responsibility. And when you commit to cutting excuses, you commit to transforming every area of your life, your work, your relationships, your health, your sense of purpose. Because in the end, taking control means refusing to let anything, especially your own mindset, stand in the way of what you are capable of achieving. Excuses are the silent killers of potential. Every time you find a reason to delay, to justify inaction, to blame external factors, you are chipping away at your own power. Taking control means eliminating these distractions, these crutches that hold you back. It means recognizing that no one else is responsible for your results, only you. Every reason you give for not moving forward is a barrier you've built between where you are and where you want to be. If you say you don't have time, you are ignoring the fact that time is something you create, not something you find. If you blame circumstances, you are giving away your power to shape your own reality. The moment you cut the excuses is the moment everything changes. People often wait for the perfect moment, the right conditions, the ideal level of motivation. But that moment doesn't exist. Life is unpredictable. Challenges are guaranteed. And if you let excuses dictate your actions, you will always be at the mercy of forces outside your control. Taking control means deciding that no matter what, you will move forward. You will find a way. You will not let distractions steal your focus or fear paralyze your actions. Every excuse you eliminate adds to your momentum. When you stop justifying inaction, you build self-trust. You prove to yourself that you can depend on your own decisions, and that self-trust is what fuels confidence. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build through consistent, disciplined action. It is the result of keeping promises to yourself, of doing what you said you would do, even when it's hard. You don't need more motivation, you need less hesitation. Motivation is unreliable, it comes and goes like the weather. But discipline is constant. Discipline is what separates those who succeed from those who stall. When you rely on motivation, you're at the mercy of your emotions. When you rely on discipline, you take control. You decide when to act. You decide how to respond. You decide to show up regardless of how you feel. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce a pattern of weakness. You teach yourself that it's okay to delay, to negotiate with yourself, to take the easy route. But every time you push through, every time you take action despite the resistance, you strengthen your resolve. You train your mind to expect effort. You train your body to embrace challenge. You train yourself to be the kind of person who doesn't back down. Cutting excuses is not about eliminating struggle. It's about eliminating the mindset that struggle is an excuse to quit. Struggle is part of growth. Resistance is part of progress. But when you view struggle as a reason to stop, you sabotage your own potential. When you reframe struggle as a sign that you are on the right path, you shift your relationship with challenges. They become milestones, not roadblocks. Every moment spent justifying inaction is a moment stolen from your future. If you keep telling yourself that tomorrow will be different, you are setting yourself up for the same patterns. Change doesn't happen when you wake up one day and feel ready. Change happens when you decide right now that you are done making excuses. You are done waiting. You are done letting distractions dictate your life. Taking control means owning every decision. It means taking responsibility for where you are, regardless of the past. It means recognizing that the only thing standing between you and your goals is the story you tell yourself about why you can't. If you believe that external circumstances define your future, you give away your power. But if you believe that your actions shape your destiny, you reclaim it. Your self-talk shapes your reality. If you keep saying, "I can't," you reinforce a mindset of limitation. If you start saying, "I will find a way," you unlock possibility. Language is powerful. The words you use to describe your situation either trap you or set you free. Every time you catch yourself making an excuse, reframe it. Turn "I don't have time" into "I will make time." Turn "I'm not good enough" into "I am getting better every day." This simple shift in language transforms your mindset and ultimately your results. Taking control is an act of discipline, not motivation. It's about choosing to act even when you don't feel like it. It's about setting standards for yourself and refusing to lower them. It's about waking up every day with a commitment to progress, no matter how small. The power of discipline is that it doesn't rely on emotions. It is a process. It is a system. And once you commit to it, you remove the uncertainty of whether or not you will take action. You simply act because that's who you are. Cutting excuses is the first step in reclaiming your life. Every excuse you eliminate is a piece of the old, reactive you falling away. Every decision to take action, regardless of how you feel, is a step toward the future you want. Control is not given, it is taken. And the moment you decide to take control, you begin to build a life that is not defined by external circumstances, but by your own choices.